The corridors of the Etihad have never been this lively. While rivals watch from a distance, Manchester City appears determined to write yet another bold chapter in the transfer market. And we're not talking about vague rumors, but real movements, with heavy figures and impactful names. The club, which has long since ceased to be just a contender and established itself as a global powerhouse, is now targeting a new name, and it's no ordinary player. Wesley, the young Flamengo standout, who's being fiercely pursued by Europe's elite. A deal valued at $35 million that could reignite the rivalry with Manchester United, who had also shown interest in the player. The story gains even more weight when we remember what happened in 2009. That year, City shocked the world by prizing Carlos Tevez away from Manchester United. The Argentine forward crossed Manchester and arrived at the Etihad as a star. His wages at the time, $150,000 a week, were seen as outrageous, even by his own teammates. Today, that figure might seem normal in European football, but 16 years ago, it was a sign of City's new financial muscle, and Tevez delivered 73 goals in 148 games, a Premier League title, and an FA Cup. It was the beginning of a new era. Now, with Pep Guardiola at the helm, City is preparing for another calculated strike. The Spanish manager sees Wesley as a perfect fit for his system, especially following Kyle Walker's departure. While Roma seemed ready to seal the deal, with personal terms nearly agreed and pressure from manager Gian Piero Gasperini, Pep decided to make his move. And when Pep acts, the club moves quickly. City's football director Hugo Vanna is reportedly already preparing a formal offer. But Wesley is not the only name in contention. Liverpool are also monitoring him, and Manchester United remain attentive to the outcome. Flamengo, for their part, know they have a gem and won't make things easy. The asking price is around $35 million, a hefty amount, but justifiable given the right back's talent, youth, and potential at 21 years old. In the meantime, Guardiola is improvising. With no undisputed starter at right back, Matheus Nunes has been filling the role, albeit with difficulty. Last season against United, he conceded a crucial penalty after losing possession. Still, some fans believe Nunes deserves more time to adapt, especially after his performance at the FIFA Club World Cup. But it's inevitable. If Wesley arrives for $35 million, patience with Nunes could run out. The fans want results, and time for experiments is running short. Speaking of squad changes, one name that could leave the club in the coming days is Jack Grealish. Despite his high price tag and undeniable talent, rumors of his possible exit are growing stronger. Guardiola himself has expressed a desire to work with a more streamlined squad this season, which means cuts are coming. Another potential departure is goalkeeper Stefan Ortega. While he has performed his role competently, he's now seeking a place where he can be the undisputed number one, something nearly impossible at City with Ederson as the first choice. Meanwhile, promising youngster James McAtee, often compared to Cole Palmer, may also be on his way out. According to journalist Florian Plettenberg, McAtee is expected to travel to Germany next week to discuss a potential transfer to Eintracht Frankfurt. It's not a done deal yet, but the fact that he's open to offers is a strong indicator. Borussia Dortmund are also interested, making the race even tighter. Premier League clubs like Everton and Nottingham Forest are keeping an eye on him too. The latter is reportedly preparing a $25 million bid. However, the tendency is for McAtee to choose the Bundesliga, following the path taken by players like Jadon Sancho, Rabbi Matondo, and Jamie Bino Gittins, youngsters who sought playing time and development opportunities abroad. Even so, City have no intention of letting him go for cheap. Their asking price is $40 million, the same fee Chelsea paid for Cole Palmer, and it's Palmer who has returned to the spotlight in recent weeks. His masterclass for Chelsea in the Club World Cup final against PSG was a harsh reminder for City fans. 2 goals, 1 assist, and a commanding presence on the pitch that mesmerized everyone. The boy who left the Etihad in search of more minutes now shines under the lights of Stamford Bridge. For many, watching Palmer dismantle PSG brought a mix of pride and regret, a hard pill to swallow. The truth is, it's rare for players to leave Guardiola's Manchester City and improve, but Palmer is the exception, and that stings. Even the most loyal supporters of Pep's project have admitted it. Maybe letting him go was a mistake. One fan remarked that had he stayed, Palmer would be warming the bench. Another noted that, even with Chelsea's high investment, the return is already more than justified. Some fans have even suggested that other youngsters like Oscar Bob and Nico Gonzalez should follow Palmer's lead. If there's no room in the first team, perhaps it's time to look elsewhere. Palmer's courage may have been the turning point of his career, and in a way, a wake-up call for City. You can't keep every talent locked away. One fan summed up what many felt: happy for him, sad for us. For many, Palmer represents what could have been at City. Even after starting only 2 Premier League games in the 2022-23 season, he showed he had the potential to make a difference, but the minutes never came. In the end, the risk he took paid off with interest. He didn't just win, he starred in the triumph. This sense of loss is a reminder of how unforgiving football is when it comes to timing and opportunity. One misjudgment, one hasty decision, and a talent can blossom into a star elsewhere. Palmer, who grew up near Manchester, is now a national pride wearing Chelsea blue. And the conversation isn't just about Palmer. Another young talent, Dutch midfielder Smith from AZ Alkmaar, is on City's radar. At just 19, he's already caught the eye of giants like Real Madrid and Barcelona. In a recent interview with HLN News, the player confirmed he had received enquiries from both Spanish clubs, which he described as the biggest in the world, but he was also realistic. He knows that despite the prestige, immediate playing time would be hard to come by. That honesty shows maturity. Smith seems grounded and values ongoing development, and this is where City might have an edge. Under Pep's management, many young players have found a space to grow with quality. The player himself mentioned that he's focused on continuing his development and doesn't want to get swept up in speculation hype. The Spanish newspaper Diario AS even published a photo of Smith wearing a Real Madrid shirt, sparking excitement among Madrid fans. Still, he's under contract with AZ until 2028, meaning any deal will require a serious financial commitment. For now, City are watching from afar, but with genuine interest. If the transfer doesn't materialize, it won't be the end of the world. City's youth system continues to produce players with immense potential. One example is Divine Mukasa, only 17, already being compared to Kevin De Bruyne in style and tactical intelligence. The sky blue future looks secure, with or without Smith. And now, citizen supporter, the ball is in your court. Would you prefer to see the club invest heavily in foreign prospects, or do you believe City's future is already being shaped from within? Share your thoughts in the comments. Amid this landscape of strategic decisions, Manchester City also faces the challenge of maintaining its identity while the transfer market spins at full speed. Pep Guardiola has already made it clear on multiple occasions that he's not chasing media darlings or making impulsive signings. He's looking for players who understand the club's philosophy, who fit into its tactical structure, and who are willing to evolve constantly. That's why every change in the current squad must be examined under a microscope. The potential arrival of Wesley is not just an attempt to fill the gap left by Kyle Walker. It represents the continuation of a project built on dynamism, intensity, and versatility. With his youth and physical potential, Wesley could offer City exactly what it's been missing: a modern fullback, explosive going forward, and quick in recovery. But the real question is, will he be ready to endure the mental and tactical demands of Guardiola? While that question echoes behind the scenes, there are those who believe players like Rico Lewis deserve a greater role. The academy graduate has shown in several matches that he possesses both maturity and football intelligence. But how do you balance opportunities for homegrown players with the pressure of winning now? Palmer's story reminds us how risky it is not to give minutes to those with potential. That's why every decision now seems to carry double the weight. And there's one important detail many overlook. Despite its current dominance, Manchester City has no margin for error. With every transfer window, rivals get closer, standards shift, and players age. Guardiola knows he needs to refresh the squad without losing its soul. That's why there's such focus on young talents like Smith and Divine Mukasa. Because while stars like De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva shine in the present, someone has to carry that torch into the future. Another factor to consider is the internal environment. With a squad filled with stars, the battle for playing time is brutal. That can take a toll on younger players mentally. McAtee, for instance, has long been seen as a gem. But how do you stay motivated when you're constantly loaned out or treated as a third option? A move to Germany might not be an escape, but rather a restart, and perhaps the only real shot he has at establishing himself in a major football project. This dilemma repeats itself in every big club. Real Madrid went through something similar with players like Achraf Hakimi, Theo Hernandez, and Brahim Diaz. All promising, all talented, yet their paths diverged. Some returned, others thrived far from the Bernabeu. The same could happen with McAtee, and if he, like Palmer, breaks out away from City, the board will once again be left dealing with the sting of silent regret. That's why Pep and the sporting directors are under constant pressure, knowing when to hold on and when to let go, knowing who needs more time and who needs a new challenge. Palmer's success made it clear that a player not in the current plan can, in a different context, become the main man, and fans won't accept shallow excuses anymore when another talent slips through the cracks. Furthermore, there's a new generation watching it all unfold. Players like Oscar Bob, Lewis, and Mukasa are observing how the club handles its youngsters. They know that to grow, they'll need genuine opportunities. And City, in turn, knows it can't afford to become a club where promise fades on the bench. Room must be made, even if it means letting go of more established names. At this point, Riyad Mahrez's words ring loudly. Back in 2021, he said there wasn't a club in the world on Manchester City's level. And he wasn't just referring to squad quality, but to structure, mentality, and long-term planning. The truth is, City has reached a stage where its moves in the market directly influence how other clubs react. Just look at Smith. The young Dutchman wouldn't be on so many radars if City hadn't shown interest. Smith, by the way, is a great example of the club thinking big, but strategically. His playing style, marked by technical finesse and spatial awareness, fits perfectly with Guardiola's possession-based system. But again, the same question arises. Will he get real game time, or simply watch from the sidelines while more famous names soak up the spotlight? That's where Pep's ability to persuade becomes vital. He needs to show that at City, merit speaks louder, that a young player who works hard, who learns, who develops, can indeed become a regular starter. That's exactly what happened with Phil Foden, a living example that the journey from academy to superstar is possible, even if it's demanding and long. On the other hand, City cannot neglect its immediate needs. The Premier League is ruthless, the Champions League even more so. To stay at the top, youth must be balanced with experience. That's why names like Rodri, Bernardo Silva, and Ruben Dias remain central. But even those pillars have an expiration date. And if the renewal isn't planned properly, the consequences can be severe. In that context, Jack Grealish's potential departure adds another layer of complexity. Signed with the expectation of becoming a difference-maker, he never quite established himself as an undisputed protagonist. Now, with rumors swirling of talks underway, he may be looking for a new challenge. The club, in turn, may see this as a chance to free up space and invest elsewhere. The case of Stefan Ortega is similar. A reliable goalkeeper, but one who knows that with Ederson around, his starting opportunities are minimal. A search for a new home may be inevitable. The same applies to others who linger on the fringe of the main squad, players who, at different clubs, could be technical leaders. All of this is part of a delicate process, where every decision shapes the club's future. And managing that requires more than just football knowledge. It demands sensitivity, bravery, and a long-term vision. Guardiola and the board are well aware. They understand the weight of every choice, and the reaction it can trigger among fans. Speaking of fans, the citizens are more attentive than ever. They watch the games, analyze the prospects, share their opinions on social media. They can tell when a player is being wasted or when a signing doesn't add up. They don't just want trophies, they want coherence, growth, and a sense of identity. The Palmer episode left deep scars. Now, every young talent is viewed through the shadow of the one who left and became a hero elsewhere. With every new rising star, the inevitable question comes, will we value him while we still can? And there's no way to conclude this reflection without circling back to where it all began. The pursuit of Wesley, the movements around Smith, the possible exits of players like Grealish and Ortega, all of it forms a puzzle that, when fully assembled, will reveal the image of the Manchester City we're going to see in the coming years. A club that not only wins, but knows how to build, renew, and evolve with intelligence. But the big question lingering in the air, and quietly unsettling the corridors of the Etihad, is whether Manchester City are truly ready to undergo a generational transition without compromising their dominance. Pep Guardiola's project was not only built with major investments, but with a mindset that demands excellence in every department, from the youth academy to the boardroom. And now, more than ever, the club faces a crossroads. While they must continue their hunger for trophies, they also need to plant the seeds for the future. This tension reveals itself in the details. A signing like Wesley's may seem straightforward, a young, explosive, promising fullback, but in practice, it raises further questions. Is City prepared to patiently develop him? Or will he just become another name who arrives, clashes with fierce competition, and exits quietly through the back door? What sets this club apart today is its ability to nurture talent, but that only works if there's genuine room to grow. Likewise, players like Divine Mukasa, who at just 17 is already drawing attention from scouts across Europe, need to see a clear path ahead. City have a recent track record of exciting prospects who failed to break through internally. Palmer himself was just another name until he had the courage to leave. Today, he's one of English football's brightest jewels. If Mukasa turns out to be another talent who only shines in training, the loss won't just be sporting, it will be symbolic. And here lies an even deeper layer, the club's image to the world. Manchester City have transformed into a global powerhouse. Their victories, facilities, and strategies are now a model for smaller clubs. But they've also become a reference for young players dreaming of reaching the top. When a kid from the U18 sees that Oscar Bob, McAtee, and others from the academy can't get a proper run in the team, doubts arise. Is it worth waiting on the bench for 3 seasons? Or is it better to seek a new environment, as Palmer did? This dilemma becomes even more complex when looking at the midfield. The imminent departures of players like Calvin Phillips and the ongoing interest in Bernardo Silva show that City are at a turning point. They need replacements, but they also need identity. And that identity, built over seasons through hard work, can easily be diluted if decisions are rushed or based solely on stats and market value. That's why the movement around names like Smith takes on such relevance. It's not just about signing talent. It's about bringing in someone who understands what Manchester City is, who knows that here, you play under constant pressure, where every mistake is magnified and every success must be replicated over and over. Could Smith be that player? Maybe. But it'll only make sense if there's a real plan for him, not just another contract signed for headlines. The fans see this. On forums, on social media, in street interviews, there's a mix of pride and concern. Pride in seeing where the club is today. Concern in watching Palmer lift trophies wearing another shirt. What's at stake now isn't just a transfer window, it's the continuation of a philosophy, one that believes in excellence, but also in patience, in building, but also in calculated risk. And it's in this moment of transition that Guardiola's presence becomes even more significant. He is the cornerstone of this project, the leader who didn't just bring trophies, but changed the way City are viewed. His continued presence at the club anchors the hope of a new generation. But he knows, too, that his cycle won't last forever, and what comes next must be prepared in advance. Whether it's Wesley, Smith, or Mukasa, the team that will play at the Etihad 5 years from now starts being built today. That's why every decision matters. Every sale, every signing, every opportunity granted or denied. The fans don't forget. They remember Sancho, Brahim Diaz, Palmer. And that list may grow if the club doesn't reassess how it integrates talent. It's not enough to develop. You must believe and act at the right time. And speaking of timing, urgency is knocking at the door in the current market. The window won't wait. Roma, for instance, have already initiated talks for Wesley. Eintracht Frankfurt have scheduled a meeting to convince McAtee. Meanwhile, Chelsea are scouting new targets with the confidence of having hit the jackpot with Palmer. The world moves fast, and City can't afford to be caught off guard. At the same time, the pressure from the fan base for assertive decisions grows every day. Winning alone is no longer enough. Stories need to be built. Players like Foden are not just athletes, they are symbols. They represent the link between the club and the stands. And the more youngsters like him are recognized within the Etihad, the stronger that connection becomes. Fans want to see stars, but they also want to relate. They want to see themselves reflected on the pitch. And when that reflection is absent, emotional rifts emerge, like the silent pain many felt watching Palmer shine against PSG. It was a symbolic blow, not just for his performance, but for what it meant. A talent that could have been ours, lifting a trophy with a different badge on his chest. That leaves scars, and they must serve as lessons. That's why, when City move for names like Smith, more than just a contract is needed. A project is required. A clear path with steps, goals, and mutual trust. Guardiola may be the master of this, but he needs the structure alongside him. He needs a club willing to prioritize talent over reputation and patience over immediacy. And in this atmosphere of rebuilding and reflection, a new Manchester City is beginning to take shape. Still powerful, still feared, but more self-aware. Aware that their greatest asset is not just their money, but how they use it. And that each young player valued internally can yield more than a rushed multi-million-pound signing. The new season is approaching. Training has already begun. The dressing room is living that typical moment of tension and expectation. Players are saying goodbye. Others are arriving. Youngsters are stepping up from the academy. And amid all of this lies the mission to keep City at the top, not just as a winning team, but as a club that knows how to take care of the present without losing sight of what's to come. Because football, like life, does not forgive those who fail to prepare. And if you've made it this far, citizen supporter, it's because you love this club as much as we do. So don't forget to leave your like. It shows that you support our content and helps us keep bringing in-depth analysis and breaking news from Manchester City. And of course, if you're not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. This is the right place for anyone who lives and breathes sky blue with passion, understanding, and respect for our history. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.